Good day. My name is Bill Carr. I am the Chief Mobility Architect at Com Solutions Company, and I'd like to welcome you to another Aruba Tech Tip. Today we're going to briefly review the intrusion detection and intrusion prevention mechanisms available within the Aruba OS. Let's get started. In an earlier Tech Tip, we actually reviewed the dashboard and the security tab, and this is where we can see the classification of devices, both clients and APs, and whether they are valid, part of our solution, neighboring, known interfering, suspected rogue, or confirmed rogue. We can actually see that we also have an events tab over here, which shows our detected and contained events. There are containment mechanisms that are available in the base OS without the RF Protect license, and we'll show you a bit of those in the documentation in a few moments. I've actually located a rogue AP here, and this particular rogue AP is confirmed. I physically have confirmed it because I'm actually associated to that access point running through my remote AP. And because my wireless client has been seen not only in the air by my remote AP, but also on the wired network traversing that remote AP, the confidence level is 100% that this is a rogue device. So now we're going to go to the configuration tab, and we're going to actually build a wireless intrusion detection or prevention policy. And I will tell you to always err on the side of conservatism when it comes to developing these policies. Generally, it's good to do the detection mechanisms first, look through your logs, see what you're seeing before you start taking actions against them. So we're going to actually start the wireless intrusion prevention wizard. For those who know me, this is something that when doing configurations, I generally avoid the wizards. However, I will tell you the wizards for intrusion prevention and detection do a great job of checking any interdependencies. Some of the protection mechanisms, for example, require that if you're going to protect valid SSIDs, that you also configure a list of valid SSIDs. And it's very easy to actually miss that step if you're not using the wizard. So I'm going to actually skip the rogue classifications. The controllers do a wonderful job of doing detection on their own and classification. And I'm going to actually then create a new intrusion. We're going to do our wireless intrusion detection. I'm going to actually leave most protection mechanisms off. And we'll simply walk through it real quick here. I want to apply this to just a particular AP. So I'm going to pick that AP group. There's actually one AP in that group, and we'll walk through it. It happens to be the AP I'm on. We are not in a multi-vendor environment, all Aruba APs, so I'm going to simply walk through it in this mechanism. If you have other vendors' APs, you then get the opportunity to choose what are valid auth and encryption methods, what SSIDs you use, what channels you use, and whether you're using 802.11n. For the detection mechanisms, I'm going to leave a lot of the detection mechanisms up high, because this is going to help me develop my logging, and once I start to look through my logging, I can make decisions on what things I want to actually do protections and containment against. On my protection side, let's take a quick peek at what we can do. We can actually leave the protection off and simply walk through the summary of the policy. So what's going to happen is this new policy is going to apply to all APs in that AP group. We're going to detect AP spoofing. We're going to detect ad hoc networks using valid SSIDs. We're going to detect our Windows bridges, misconfigured APs. We're going to require that WPA is in use. So things such as WEP or open SSIDs would be considered insecure. And we'll get events associated with those. Detect unencrypted valid clients. So if I see a client go and associate to an open SSID within my airspace, I'll actually flag that. So now we're going to actually finish. This is going to actually push that policy to the AP group, and then we close that and take us back to our configuration tab. So now we've actually had our IDS policy out there for a few minutes, and I actually have managed to find a couple of events that got flagged since we actually had WPA required and a privacy violation. We had privacy required. We're actually going to see that because there is an open SSID, even though it's a valid open SSID, happens to be on our AP, we actually have policy violation. So this is one of the reasons why I said it's very important to kind of build these policies first, see what you get from a logging and an error perspective, and then make decisions to actually slowly ratchet up the enforcement. So now I've actually gone back into our AP group, the mobile demo group, where we've applied this IDS profile. And I actually wanted to show you some of the places where those events that we just looked at were triggered. Under the unauthorized device profile, we have requirements for both privacy, so we require encryption, and we require WPA as a valid. So we have two choices. We can either uncheck these boxes and apply it to avoid future messages. The more secure mechanism would be to of course, eliminate that open SSID. Just wanted to show you that because this is a method of tuning, really kind of developing your policy for what is a valid and secured environment, and to minimize the number of events that you have to look through once you start to configure detection and containment mechanisms. So now I've gone back into this AP group. I want to show you some places where we're going to make changes to actually start enforcing and doing some containment. Under the IDS general profile, we can actually turn on wireless containment and determine what we're going to do for wireless containment. We can simply do deauths, we can do none, we can tarp it all or just non-valid stations. The default is to tarp it to non-valid stations. Under the impersonation profile, this is where we look for protecting from AP impersonation. We can detect it and then also protect against it. I'm going to simply turn that detection on and then go back to our unauthorized device profile. As I said, in many cases we can actually do detection of many of these items and then actually go back and turn on containment or protection from them as well. So we can do rogue containment in the event we have an AM in the area that can actually begin to do deauths or tar pit the devices. We'll tar pit them. We can not only contain rogues, and these are devices that we've classified or manually classified as an actual rogue versus the suspected rogues. And then we can actually say at what level do we want to actually contain suspected rogues. Once we start to do protection for valid stations, so this is protecting stations that we've seen associate to us and get into our valid station table. We can protect against misconfigured APs, and those protections would be similar to the methods we just saw, where if we had a policy violation, we would deauth or tar pit clients attempting to associate to them. So as we mentioned earlier, if you walk through the wizard, it does a good job of making sure that any interdependencies that are required are configured. If you were to check off the box to protect SSID, it would also make sure that you actually configured a list of valid and protected SSIDs. It's for that reason that I recommend that you make changes in very small steps to develop the policy that you want for your IDS and IPS, and perhaps even deploy it to a small group of APs or an isolated AP, and then review your logging. It's very common that we see customers actually enable a number of IDS containment features and not realize they're actually taking action against what are truly valid clients. And again, I will highly recommend that you use the reference materials that are available. The chapter on wireless intrusion prevention is very detailed and gives great examples of use cases for rogue containment, wired containment, and containment without tar pitting, as is shown here. So again, back to our security summary, we can also take any device that's out there, client or AP, and reclassify it. So I'm going to take this particular device, which I happen to know exists as an interfering AP within one of the residences of one of our workers, and reclassify that device and simply move it. Also, it's very important to note that if you have your floor plans loaded within the controller and you find a interfering or discovered access point, you can potentially locate that device if it can be triangulated by more than one access point. So we actually have 3 APs that can see this particular device. We're going to quickly look for it and hopefully find its location within our building. and it's actually in this room right here. So that's a pretty accurate depiction of the location of that device. So that concludes our IDS IPS primer, and we thank you for viewing. If you have any questions, please contact your CommSolutions account rep or visit our website at www.commsolutions.com.